Journey to Callisto by Maurice de Ridder. Illustrated by John Stewart. Contents. Introduction 2. Why are we going into space? 4. Where can we go? 8. What about the moons? 12. The Callisto Voyager. 16. The astronauts prepare. 22. Food and oxygen. 23. Blast off. 26. The journey. 28. A hazardous journey. 32. Arrival at Callisto. 34. Establishing a colony. 36. The Earth needs you. 38. Introduction. Mission Headquarters. 2 years to launch. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this introductory meeting of the mission to establish a permanent colony of humans on a distant moon or planet. We are 2 years from launching the spacecraft that will help achieve this objective, and this briefing is intended to explain how we will complete the mission. My name is James Allerton, and I am the mission director. My job is to make sure that every stage of the project is completed on time and to the best of our ability. In other words, I'm in charge. There will be no mistakes. The lives of our astronauts depend on everyone involved doing their jobs correctly. I would like to ask the mission captain to introduce herself and the senior members of her crew.
My name is Yasmin Khan, and I am the mission captain. I have been chosen to command the spaceship, which will journey across deep space to set up the first ever colony on a distant moon. I am in charge of a crew who will spend the next few years in space. We will be leaving behind everything on Earth: family, friends, trees, flowers, shops, schools, even the air we breathe. The crew includes Charlie LaBelle, our engineer, who knows everything about the spaceship, and Omar Hassan, our doctor, who will make sure everyone is fit and well.
Hi. Hello. Thank you, Captain Yasmin. I would imagine your first question is, why are we doing this? Let's talk about all the things that make this journey worthwhile. Why are we going into space? The idea of colonizing another planet or moon has been around for centuries, long before humans first ventured into space. Many scientists have been struggling with the various problems of achieving this, not only how to get there, but deciding on the destination itself. Here is a report from some of these scientists. It states why, despite the difficulties, we should endeavor to start a colony on a distant planet or moon.
Getting into space is difficult because of gravity. It is a force which pulls all objects towards the center of the Earth or any other large mass. This means that an object must travel at huge speed to reach space and to travel away from Earth. Once in space, the pull of gravity is much less, which means much less power is needed to move. Smaller planets and moons often have weaker gravity than Earth, and it's easier for spacecraft to take off. It also means that humans can float away from the ground. If a colony could be established on a distant moon, it could be used as a base to launch further into space. The Saturn V rocket required huge rocket engines and hundreds of tons of fuel to get past the Earth's gravitational pull and reach space.
Humans began to explore the possibility of space travel in the 1950s and 60s. In 1969, the first astronauts landed on the moon. That is as far as humans have been. But the dream of reaching other planets and the space beyond could now be realized. A mission to a distant moon or planet allows scientists to develop new technologies which could benefit humanity back on Earth. Other moons and planets may have greater deposits of minerals and other resources that could be of real benefit to Earth's population.
Would the journey be worth it? It would cost a lot of money, involve huge amounts of new technology, and the spaceship crew would face many uncertain dangers. But it could mean valuable new discoveries which help us back on Earth. The plan is to establish a base that can launch missions further out into space. Then maybe another planet with life on it, or where humans can walk freely outside, breathing the air, could be found. The base will need bigger, better spaceships than anything we have now, but it would be an amazing adventure and may bring many benefits to our lives on Earth. With all these benefits, we think it is worth the risk. This is what the base would look like.
Where can we go? The next step is to decide where to go. In today's briefing, we will outline the different factors involved in this decision and the best possible options. We have been studying the planets in our solar system for hundreds of years. We have looked at them through telescopes and scientific instruments and listened to them on radio telescopes. Robotic probes have been sent to all the planets. The data they have collected shows that many planets and asteroids won't be suitable places to visit.
Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun.
Planets which are near the Sun, like Venus and Mercury, are much too hot to land on. On the other hand, Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn are far from the Sun, which means they are extremely cold and could take many years to reach. Mars is closer, but has quite strong gravity, like Earth. This means a manned spaceship could land, but would need a large rocket to launch from Mars and come back to Earth.
Mars has a strong gravitational pull, so it would be hard for spaceships to leave the planet's surface.
The enormous planet Jupiter could be reached by spaceship in about 2 years, but it is entirely made of gas, so it has no surface to land on. It also has winds of up to 1,000 miles per hour and gives off highly dangerous radiation. Radiation consists of waves of energy. There are many types of radiation. We can see and feel some kinds, like light and heat. There are other types that we cannot see, feel, hear, smell, or taste. We need special sensors to tell if radiation is present.
Unmanned probes have reached all of the planets. The journey to the closest, Venus, took 3 months. It took 9 years to reach Pluto.
What about the moons? If the planets are not very good places on which to land, fortunately, some of their moons are more promising. Moons, like the Earth's moon, are usually much smaller than the planet they orbit, so don't have as much gravity. Jupiter has over 60 moons. Most of them are small rocks, but there are 4 large ones: Io, Ganymede, Europa, and Callisto. Io, Ganymede, and Europa have high radiation because they are close to Jupiter. Ganymede and Europa are also very, very cold, while Io is full of active volcanoes and lakes of molten sulfur. The moon furthest away is Callisto.
Planets with less gravity are easier to land on and take off from. It'll be much easier for me to control the spaceship if there's less gravity. This is something I will have to practice in a simulator. Moons are natural satellites that go round or orbit a planet.
Ganymede's radiation is very dangerous. Callisto is a bit warmer with no radiation, but it is still minus 139 degrees. Brrr. Are we sure this is where we want to go?
Yes, it has more advantages than the others, and gives us an opportunity to launch further into space in the future. I agree this is probably the best destination for our mission.
We believe Callisto would be the best choice. Gravity is very low there, so launching and landing will be easier, and it has much less radiation than Jupiter's other large moons. It is warmer than the other 3 moons. Callisto is mostly made of rock and ice, with no molten core, so there is no volcanic activity. Okay, you convinced me. Callisto, here we come! The Callisto Voyager. Mission Headquarters, 6 months to launch. In the last meeting, we decided on Callisto as the best destination. It will take 2 years to get there, so the rocket we will use needs to have some new features never before seen on spacecraft. The Callisto Voyager spacecraft has now been built and is ready to go, so Engineer Charlie has prepared this presentation to take you through certain aspects of the craft and the reasons why it was built this way. What the spaceship has to do. The spaceship has to make an incredibly long journey to get to Callisto. Then, it has to land some of the crew and equipment to set up a colony before it returns to Earth. This means the spaceship has to be very big. It has space for us to eat, sleep, relax, and control the functions of the ship. There are power and water systems, and engines for maneuvering into and out of orbit. The spaceship will carry everything required to land on Callisto, including a special landing craft and equipment for setting up a colony. The Callisto Voyager won't be launched from Earth, but will launch from the space station where it was built. This is so it doesn't need huge rockets and massive amounts of fuel just to get into space. Almost 90% of the fuel used on the Apollo 11 trip from Earth to the Moon was used to travel the first 100 kilometers. The remaining 10% of fuel took the Apollo astronauts almost 750,000 kilometers to the Moon and back. The spaceship will be powered by nuclear reactors. They will allow the spaceship to travel at a high speed for a long period. How it was built. In 1998, the International Space Station was put into space. It provided the services needed to build some spacecraft. But to build a huge spaceship like Callisto Voyager, the International Space Station was made much bigger. A lot more people had to live and work there, and huge space cranes were needed to help build our new spaceship. This is where our spaceship was built. Building the spaceship was a big task. Firstly, all the parts of the ship were made on Earth. Then the parts were taken by rocket to the space station. Next, the parts were assembled at the station using giant space cranes. Finally, the spaceship was completed and loaded up in preparation for the long journey. The spaceship needs to travel huge distances very quickly and carry a lot of things: humans, food, air, water, along with everything needed for the crew to live and work.
The completed spaceship is much bigger than any aeroplane or rocket ever built.
The astronauts prepare. Mission headquarters, 1 month to launch. The astronauts have been very carefully selected for this long journey. They have to be young, fit, and healthy. To prepare, the astronauts need to be trained for flying the spaceship and for living on Callisto. Being in a metal tube for months on end is not something many people would choose to do. Most people would find this very stressful, particularly knowing there is no way of returning to Earth for a few years. Everyone in the crew has passed a range of tests to ensure they are healthy enough to take part in such a difficult journey. Some tests would be done in zero gravity, the kind of conditions they would have on the ship. Food and oxygen. Mission headquarters, 3 weeks to launch. I have worked closely with the builders and engineers working on the spaceship. Our spaceship will travel for many months through a void where there is no food or oxygen. These are vital for human life. There is nothing to eat in space and no oxygen to breathe. It is possible to take some supplies from Earth, but this will not be enough for the whole journey. Therefore, food and oxygen will have to be generated on the ship. The food on the spaceship will be mostly vegetarian. It is not possible to take animals on the ship, as they will consume too much food and oxygen themselves. Plants can be grown in large, cylindrical tubes called hydroponic pods. Hydroponics is the process by which plants are grown without using soil. Hydroponic farms grow plants using a special plant food full of nutrients. New plants can be grown from seed packets that contain everything the seedlings need to start. They are then cultivated in the growing tubes. Potatoes, soybeans, and peanuts would be the main crops because they are grown easily and produce large quantities of food. The plants also help the crew by converting water into oxygen to breathe. When we breathe in, our bodies use the oxygen, and we then breathe out another gas called carbon dioxide. Without oxygen, we will suffocate. The ship has to provide enough air with oxygen for all of the crew to breathe. Some oxygen will be taken on the journey in special tanks, but most will need to be generated during the voyage. To do this, large tanks of tiny green plants called algae are used. These plants take in water and carbon dioxide and then release oxygen into the atmosphere. Not salad again! Blast off. Space Station, Earth orbit, launch day. Captain and crew of Callisto Voyager, you are on the verge of an historic moment. Whilst every precaution has been taken against danger, this is a leap into the unknown. You must be careful. All our best wishes go with you for your journey. Goodbye, everyone. I'll give you all away from Callisto. Our adventure is just beginning, and what an adventure it promises to be. I'm going to be the first doctor to travel into deep space. My family are so proud.
Thank you, Mission Director. I have dreamt of this moment all my life. As a child, I looked up at the stars and wondered just what it would be like to travel amongst them. And now I will know. This is Callisto Voyager signing off and reporting all ready for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have blastoff! The journey. Mission headquarters. 4 weeks after launch. Life on the spaceship.
Our journey to Callisto will last for over 2 years. However, we won't be bored. Everyone on board has an important job to do. This could be maintaining the ship, growing and preparing food, doing scientific experiments, or monitoring the journey. We will be very busy. All of us have to exercise regularly and eat healthily because in reduced gravity, the muscles and bones may atrophy. Spaceships and space stations need special exercise equipment.
Atrophy means that muscles and bones will become weaker and so won't do their jobs properly. Zero gravity makes playing board games very difficult. The pieces keep floating away. The spaceship includes habitat modules where the crew will have facilities to sleep, relax, exercise, and eat. Each crew member will be allowed 1 or 2 personal items they can take on board, providing they are lightweight and not too bulky. A hazardous journey.
During our journey in space, we hope we don't have any problems because we can't turn back. That means when anything breaks, we have to fix it. So all through the journey, we have to keep checking the spaceship and making sure everything is working as well as possible and is in good condition. If anything major breaks, we are in trouble, so even small problems need fixing quickly to stop them from escalating into big problems.
That is my job. I have detailed plans of all the components of the ship on a computer, and hopefully I know what is required to fix any problems.
Space is vast and empty, so it would be very unusual to hit anything. However, there is an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. This consists of millions of asteroids, which vary in size from small rocks to moon-sized boulders. Although I will do my best to avoid all these objects, there is a possibility the spaceship might get struck. The ship has to be strong enough to survive such a strike.
Approaching Jupiter.
Halfway through the voyage, we will have to turn the ship around. We then slow down gradually as it approaches Jupiter and Callisto. If the spaceship is going too fast, we will simply fly past Callisto and be lost forever. Once in orbit around Jupiter, the ship will continue to slow down until it reaches Callisto's orbit.
Arrival at Callisto. Mission headquarters, 2 years after launch. Ladies and gentlemen, you are only 5 days from landing. We should go over the agreed plan for your arrival on Callisto.
Protocol for procedure upon Callisto landing. 1. Callisto Voyager enters orbit around Callisto. 2. Crew boards the 2 landing modules known as landers. 3. Modules detach from Callisto Voyager spacecraft and descend to Moon's surface. 4. Upon landing, crew to put on protective suits with inbuilt oxygen supply. 5. Open hatches of lander and step out onto the surface of Callisto. 6. Connect up the landers with cables and pipes to share power, water, and air inside each. 7. Set up nuclear reactor to provide power in both landers. 8. Set up inflatable modules containing beds, kitchen, and workspaces. 9. Set up farm tubes and algae tanks. 10. Transfer food and oxygen supplies from landers. The reduced gravity should make this easier.
Establishing a colony. The crew will take parts of the Callisto Voyager craft down to the surface to assist in building the colony. The remaining parts of the craft will be left to burn up in the atmosphere. The crew will now be alone, over 700 million kilometers from their homes and the nearest people, and there is no way back until the next ship arrives. To grow the colony, more spaceships will have to be sent from Earth, bringing more equipment for building bigger living places and allowing exploration. Meanwhile, the crew will explore Callisto, looking for their own resources to help them survive. They will build mines and look for metal and minerals. Some of these could be very valuable back on Earth. They will make tunnels, caverns, and roads, and will start to farm more and more of their own food. This will allow the colony to grow, so that one day it could become the base from which another mission sets off to start a new colony on a moon or planet even deeper into space.
The Earth needs you. A momentous occasion in the history of the human race is just around the corner. The launch of Callisto Voyager is imminent. The intrepid crew, who will be the first ever interplanetary colonists, are set to become international heroes. Their names will be known for generations to come. But this is just the beginning. A thriving and busy colony is planned for Callisto, tasked with exploring the moon and nearby planets. In the future, this colony will see the launch of further missions to more distant planets in outer space. Do you have what it takes to be a pioneer in the most exciting and historic event in history? Can you see yourself as a future colonist? Are you young, fit, and healthy? Do you think you could make the 2-year voyage and become a useful member of the colony on arrival? If you do, then come and join the Callisto Colony Project. Pioneer, historic, hero. It will be a long and hard stay in the colony, but the rewards will be great. Your name would join the list of Callisto's great pioneers, which will be taught to all of Earth's citizens for hundreds of years to come. You will have the opportunity to be part of the future of the human race, and you will have the greatest adventure of your life. Earth needs you. Join today for a new tomorrow. Journey to Callisto. Follow the preparations as scientists plan the first space mission to establish a human colony on a distant moon called Callisto.